What's up, guys? This is Empire Hours, and I'm your host, Cameron Cisneros. And today's guest is Michelle Martin. And if you think you can't win in today's business while still having a life, she is about to prove you wrong. Michelle has helped nearly 1,000 families buy and sell homes. She's eXp Realty's 2025 Instructor of the Year. She co-chairs the Military Network, leads young professionals in Florida, and is an active leader in eXp Latino. She's also a mom of two, a wife, a fitness enthusiast, and most people struggle just doing one of these things, let alone all of them. And she's not burning out. And you may ask yourself, like, how? How does someone do this? And the answer is systems and leverage, and a mindset that refuses to choose between success and life. Michelle's bilingual, bicultural, and deeply committed to serving communities that don't always get the attention that they deserve, between military families, young professionals, and our Latino community. So if you're grinding yourself into the ground and calling that dedication, this is a conversation that is going to shift your perspective. Michelle, I'm so excited to get into it. Thank you for coming on.
Oh my gosh, what an intro. That's amazing. Thank you so much. No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
We talked about this a little bit behind the scenes. You've helped nearly over 1,000 families buy and sell homes. 2025 Instructor of the Year for eXp. You're doing all of these things. As a mom of two, can you walk me through how you've built a life where you're winning in every single category? How are you winning in all of these categories? Can you walk me through what you do and how you've developed the results that you have?
Yeah, so I wasn't always winning. I was not always winning. And I learned a lot over the years. And, most of that time, to be completely fair, I wasn't doing all of the things that I'm doing right now. And so when I first started, it was all just real estate, just straight up, grinding with real estate nonstop, just going, going, going. There was no breaks. There was no personal life. There was no worrying about anything else other than real estate. And then obviously, as that sounds, that's like a huge recipe for disaster. Thankfully, I have a supportive husband and everything like that. But without that, it wouldn't have been possible. My first year of my real estate career, like I said, just grinding, grinding, grinding. And then I think 6 months in, my husband deployed. And I'm
Ooh.
like, oof, shoot, and then he was gone for 6 months. So that first year is just me and my two babies. They were 2 and 1, and, took them on some showings or, had to decline some opportunities. And I just, I did the best I could with the circumstances I had. But, in subsequent years after that, I really, in hindsight, right, I could have done a little bit better to take care of myself, to take care of my family, to take care of just life's obligations. Right? And it was around that 2020 time where I just, life forced you to stop, right? Right when COVID hit, it was just well, nothing's going on now. So you just stop. And I was like, what? And I felt like it just a mountain of everything just hit me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this ain't it. Can't be living like this anymore. I need to start making some changes. And, it's it's a gradual thing, right? So it culminated in 2020, but it had been happening for years already where random meltdowns. I would say I have a quarterly meltdown, right? I
Right.
just freak out. I'm so overwhelmed. And then you get over it and you just keep going, right? But the saying goes, if nothing changes, then nothing changes, right?
Yes.
So I had to something had to change because I just couldn't keep going. It was enough years of saying something's got to change and then it doesn't change. So to answer your question, to be fair, I was not always winning at all of those things. I don't feel like I'm always winning at everything now, right? Nobody's perfect, but I feel like my intentionality around it all is definitely more improved, which causes everything else to sort of align better than it did before. And I feel like a more whole human, right?
Right.
That has my whole human that has a business, right? Which is more important than just, having a business without the human part. Because
Agreed.
then what's the point, right?
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that I've seen from you is that your success is directly proportional to your ability to problem solve, to motivate, to inspire others, to educate, and genuinely put others first. But you can't do that unless you are fulfilled, unless your cup is filled. And, we've talked about it, you're bilingual, you're bicultural, you're a huge leader in Latina community. There's a lot of synergy and intersectionality between what you do. As a Latina leader, how has that shaped your identity and shaped your business and how you lead? Has that culture really been a driver for you in finding that community and Tell me more about that.
So funny enough, when I started my real estate career, I lived in the Florida Panhandle, right? And so not a lot of Latino community there. That's where we lived. That's where my husband was stationed. So that's where we lived. And so that identity, not that it went away, but I just, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. So like I was never really talking Spanish to anybody or just anything like that. And then we decided to move to Central Florida around that 2020, like slap in the face, right? I'm like, okay, well, I'm done with this. Like I need to, wanted to move closer to fun things and my culture and things like that, right? Because we wanted to go out and like listen to Latin music or eat Latin food or, just hear people speaking Spanish, right? And then so I never really knew the impact of being bilingual or being Latina until I had made that move and gotten, a lot closer to my culture. And even then, it wasn't until I joined EXP that I was like, oh, I'm really actually capitalizing on this whole I can speak Spanish thing because it was just the opportunity to really embrace that part of me was never there until I got the opportunity to teach FastCap in Spanish. And I'm like, oh no, I don't say these words in Spanish ever. So I joke with all the students now and I'm like, we're going to have a great time. I'm going to teach you about real estate. I'm going to get to practice my Spanish. And then I might teach you guys some English because it's going to come out in the Spanglish, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until recently, honestly, like just in the last 18 months or so that I've really done much of any concrete real estating in Spanish, to be honest with you, which is completely wild now that you've asked me that.
Yeah, yeah. We said this before too. There's a lot of synergy and intersectionality in the work that you do between serving the Latina community, the military, the military families that you serve, and young professionals. What is a common thread that you find amongst all of them?
Well, in terms of being in the community, right, the One EXP realm, right, I think that I've found, and again, this is all super new to me, really, since I've just been with EXP like a little over 18 months now, and a common theme that I find in all of the communities is that it's really a great place to feel like you belong and a great place to feel like there are others around you who have similar experiences, who have similar likes and dislikes, right? Like in the Latino community, it's like we vibe and we like the same things. We're from the same culture. In the military community, we've all had a story of when our spouse was deployed or when we had to move on short notice or like we all go through the struggle, young professionals. It's just a great place to vibe with other business owners, right? Because like I work exclusively from right where you see me right now. I don't go anywhere or talk to anyone really. And then so being a part of all of these communities has really just given me the opportunity to speak to people, like to make friends, right? Because we're just so virtual now, right? And then so this really just gives me the opportunity to make some friends. And then when we do get together a few times a year, it's like, hi friend. Like I feel like we're besties and we just have like, I see you but once a year, but I feel like we're besties. And so just in general, being a part of all of these communities, it makes me feel connected.
One EXP is the heartbeat of culture, right? This is where we turn connection into opportunity, where we show that identity isn't a liability, but it's your differentiator and how you show up in this space. People join across any entrepreneur who's built a company knows that people don't join because of like what you offer. They join because of compensation alignment and cultural alignment. And that's what they hone in on. So not only are you being able to plug into a community of over 50,000 agents and feel connected, seen, and supported, but now you have a leverage point to render to your communities that you serve. They also have a community that is also backing them up as well. And it's incredible the things like you get what you put into it. You get out what you put into 1EXP any day. And you're one of the people that has maximized just the opportunities that, and we talked about a little bit about like you're a fitness enthusiast, you're a mom, you're a wife, you have all these roles and you're crushing it in business. A lot of people talk about balance. I don't think that's what you're doing, if I'm being honest. What is your philosophy on integrating that without losing yourself?
Yeah. So it came in phases for me because like I mentioned at the beginning, like all I ever was doing before was just business, right? And then of course I'd want to go on a trip or something or hang out with my kids, but then like the phone wouldn't quit ringing, right? And then so it really started with just leveraging and building out some systems and like, with assistants and automating some things, right? But, when I started 11 years ago, the automations and the AIs like wasn't really a thing. So, I did what I could at that time with what I had. From then it just started changing into leveraging more like in terms of a team. And then when I moved away, it meant leveraging everything because I didn't go anywhere, I didn't do anything in person, right? And then, but during that shift, I call it like my first 5 years and my second 5 years of the career. So during those second 5 years, it was like, okay, well, how do I start building that life that I actually want? Like, what is my purpose? Why am I even out here busting my butt selling real estate, right? Like, what is the point? And so I started noticing like my health I wasn't feeling good. I was like larger than I wanted to be. And I'm like, this ain't it. Right. And so I started I like to use this example because a lot of people out there might be thinking to themselves, well, how do I build this habit? Right. And then so I started with, okay, I'm going to start working out. Right. I didn't know how to work out. I didn't feel like working out. I just wanted to work all day. And, I would hear the super successful people work out at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, so they could be done by a certain time and so on and so forth, right? So they could continue to work. And I thought that's what I should do. The miracle morning, all of that, right? And I'm like, cool, let's try that. So I went to a trainer because I didn't know how to work out. So I went to a trainer. And I think if I remember correctly, I started at like 5. And I had to take one of my kids with me because like my husband had to go to work. Like, what was I supposed to do, right? And dude, there was no way. Like I did that for like a little bit, maybe like I don't even think I made it a month, honestly. Like, and I was like, this ain't it. I am not getting up in the morning to do this. This ain't me. And I knew it wasn't me, but I was trying to just listen to what other people do and go with that. And over trial and error, I started realizing, you know what? Morning time is my time because then I said, I'll do it in the afternoon when work is over. No, I won't because work will never be over. Right. And like I will never stop working. So I'm talking years, trial and error. And only in the last 2 years have I been consistent with the gym. And that's because I said, enough is enough with this whole, but when, and I said, I'm going to pay for a trainer for 3 months in advance. So I have to go because I paid for it. And I'm going to go at 8 in the morning, which is not the greatest, but it's, it gets me out of it. It gets me out at a reasonable time, right? From 8 to 9. And then I can just go about my day. And so I did that and I met her twice a week and it got to the point where I was feeling so good about going that I didn't need her accountability anymore. Because over that time, I started feeling like, oh, I want to go to the gym, right? And that's just one example. But to work all of the things you want to do in your life, you have to be intentional about it. Really, I don't want to say mastered because I feel like there's always room to grow, but like I really feel like I have got this calendar thing down. And when anybody asks me, well, what do you do first? I say, you need to block out the time for yourself first before any other obligation at all. Because, now I'm in a season where I'm very busy. So now I'm like, it's being tested. And I'm like, man. So some days I wake up in the morning, I'm like, you know what? I got to work. I don't want to go to the gym. And I say, nope, my calendar says I got to go to the gym. I have off days from the gym, but today I got to go to the gym. Everything else is scheduled. So I should have time to do it. I have to do it. I stick to the schedule, right? So it's like, it's that discipline and planning out your personal obligations. Cause I know if I skip the gym, I will feel really crummy about myself.
Yeah.
And I don't
100%.
want to do that.
No. And it's about, I love that you talked about being honest with yourself, right? You have to be honest with yourself and look at yourself for where you're at right now, not the potential of what you're going to be, but where you're at right now and say, you know what? The whole getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning isn't for me. Like I know me and this isn't going to be suitable for me long term. And a lot of people get mixed up with that. They get so bought into hustle culture and what you should be doing. Everyone should be waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But if you look at like our CEO, he doesn't start his work day until like 9 a.m. And so you have to look at what works for you. And the thing about change, when we talk about identity and building that, is that change does not happen until the fear or the pain of staying the same exceeds the fear or the pain of the change itself. So until the pain of where you're at is so much more painful than it would be to change, you're not going to change. So you pick your pain because regardless, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt not being in shape. It's going to hurt being in shape. You have to decide what pain that you want. And you talked about, like keeping the promise to yourself. There are some days that I don't want to go to the gym either, but I would rather show up to the gym and go on the treadmill for even if it was 10 minutes and leave than break the promise to myself because even those culminations of just bit by bit every day are going to compound and reinforce the trust that you have within yourself, especially as a leader. Because if you don't trust yourself as a leader, how in the world is anyone else going to trust you?
100%.
You've taught You've taught so many agents, especially being an instructor for FastCap. What is the biggest gap that you see between agents who are stuck and the agents who are scaling? For the ones that are stuck, what's that thing that's missing for them?
I think and it's funny because that first week of Fast Cap, all it is like the foundations of building a business and understanding that what you're embarking on is literally a business, not like a job or anything. And so I love that week because like on the last day of that week, like it's you're supposed to bring a guest. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna be my guest, my own guest, because this is my topic. Like I love this. And what it is for me is discipline. And discipline comes from habits. That's it. Bottom line. Period, because of what you just said. Until the pain becomes big enough, you won't make a change, right? And so, what I hope to help people with is to help them kind of realize before it gets to be too bad, because I can tell you a bunch of stories of when bad things were happening, but it wasn't bad enough until it became bad enough, right? Like after my husband came back from that deployment, we went to Vegas to spend time together, right? I hadn't seen him in 6 months. And we went for 4 days and, had babysitters for the kids. They were super small. And, I left him in the casino to go upstairs and write an offer. And I couldn't get
Really?
off my phone the whole time. Later, we went on a dream. So that was in 2016, 2019. So I'm talking 3 years later, same vibes. We went on a dream trip to London and Scotland, total Outlander vibes if you watch Outlander. There was one night where I just had to work and he like fell asleep and I'm there like working and I just started crying. It was like day 4 of the trip. And I was like, this ain't it. So it's like little things that were happening, but it wasn't until it was just so all those things had to compound for me to make a change. And looking back, I feel almost like ashamed. I was like, wow, why didn't anybody tell me there was a better way? Why didn't I go looking for a better way? Why didn't I listen if somebody probably told me there was a better way, right? Or why didn't I pick up that book? Why didn't I try? And then so my whole like mission is to just be like, guys, I promise there's a better way. Don't do this to yourself. Let's be more intentional about our time and our business and build those habits so that just even the calendar habit itself, guys, just build it the right way and follow it. I tell all the fast cappers, I say, if you don't have to worry about, I got to do this, I got to do that, right? Because that's overwhelming. All you got to do is worry about putting things in the calendar and then worry about looking at the calendar. Those are the only 2 things. Then your calendar will run you. Your calendar will tell you exactly what to do, and then it's like takes the burden of that stress off of you, right? Your CRM does the same thing. If you just worry about putting the info in there and staring at it, it will tell you what to do
Yeah.
every single day. That's what I think separates people who succeed and who don't is discipline to do what you're supposed to do. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard. So how can you make it easier on yourself? So working out, I wasn't about to do that at 4 o'clock in the morning. How do I make it easier for myself? Well, I work out at 8 now. Or eight or nine, right? 8 or 9. And then so now I don't take appointments before 11.
Yeah.
I've just changed my whole schedule. And I say, most days I don't take appointments before 11 because I know I'm going to be at the gym, period. I've just moved my whole day down to fit my schedule, right? And next year when one of my kids goes to high school, they're going to get home from school earlier. That whole thing's going to have to shift again. That's life. But you have to make it the way that works for you. You can't just be bending at the whims of your customers and other people who are pulling at you, because there's a saying, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So you have to think like, what am I saying no to? Am I saying no to watching a movie with my kids? Am I saying no to being present on a vacation? I'm not
Right.
about to keep saying no to that stuff anymore.
No, absolutely. And a lot of this boils down to you mentioned discipline, but also structure. Having the right structure that meets you where you're at ultimately so that you don't relapse into the habits that put you in the circumstances of feeling the depletion and feeling the emotional exhaustion and not having the time for yourself. Because no matter what business you run, if you aren't putting yourself first, if you don't have those non-negotiables and those boundaries in place, you will burn out indefinitely. It's not a matter of, it's a matter of when. And
Right.
that when is just contingent upon what your capacity is. A lot of times I see people quit when they just needed a break,
Mhm.
And you have to ask yourself, like, before I walk away, is this because like I genuinely need to change course, or do I just need to give myself more time for me so that I can continue to show up? Like, because a lot of times a lot of people quit and it's like you really just needed a break. You didn't need to actually quit the whole thing, which is why a lot of people burn out anyway, too. For someone like you who has served over 1,000 clients, that's a lot of transactions, by
Yes,
the
it is.
way. What have you learned in that volume that most agents never figure out?
You don't have to do it all yourself. There are people out there who can do it just as good or often better than you can. So those transactions came from a lot of solo work, but two different teams. I've had two different teams in my career. One that I owned alone, which was a complete disaster, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I'm so busy, please help me. And I just whatever, right? Like I just created something and it wasn't working and it was because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And then the second team worked a lot better, it was with a business partner, and then I ended up selling that team to him. That was that, right? But it's funny that you said a lot of people just need to take a break. They get they get burnt out. They start having feelings about real estate like this sucks, right? And that's exactly what happened to me around that time that I sold that team. And I was like, I'm over real estate. Like, I'm so burnt out because I kind of felt like I had to start over after I sold the team. And then that was around the time I came to EXP2 later that year. And I'm like, I got that break that I needed. It was so stressful though, because I don't sell that amount of homes anymore. I don't do that anymore on purpose. Right. And it was still a part of me. It was still part of my identity. And I was like, I need to shake that. I don't have to be that agent that sells 100 homes a year anymore. That's not what makes me a great agent. It's not what makes me a great person or a great business person. I had to shake that and say, what is it exactly that would make me fulfilled in my career? And for a while there, I wanted to get into coaching and training. I just didn't really have I don't want to say I didn't have the opportunity, but it just wasn't aligning with life at the moment, right? Like stuff wasn't falling into place. And then as soon as I came to EXP, I went to my first EXP con and I started doing the networking thing, right? I popped up to EXP Latino party. I said, let me help. And they're like, well, if you help us, we'll give you some food. I was like, sure. I just started talking to everybody. And then that's where I met everybody from military network too. Like I just started asking and talking to anybody I possibly could. Things were aligning shortly after I got the opportunity to teach FastCap in Spanish. Let me tell you, after that I got the opportunity to teach it, and there was 800 people in it. I've never taught anything like that before. I taught little things here and there, but I taught my team, right? But never big scale like that. And as soon as I was done, my heart was like, it's amazing. I was on a little high. I was on a little cloud. I was like, this is amazing. This is so fun. And I could not shake it ever since. I was like, put me in, coach, whatever you want me to do. I'm here, I'm in. And I've just been in this serving mindset ever since, because I'm like, you know what? If I go out there and I maximize my one EXP opportunities, I maximize EXP in general opportunities, right? And I just talk to people, serve, help, just this is what I say, put good juju in the universe. Good juju will come back to me from the universe, right? And I'm such a believer in that.
That's what it boils down to. And we said this in the beginning. Your success is proportional to your ability to problem solve, to impact, and to cultivate relationships and to continuously propel them forward. That is the focal point, and that is the heart of what you talk about. And when I see you coaching, when I see you out there engaging with community, I feel that fire from you, which is incredible. You've said it time and time again. You are here to help agents win, not just in business, but to also win in life. And to be very honest, a lot of agents sacrifice life for business. It's exactly what we talked about. When you're teaching about this, how do you help someone who's grinding themselves into the ground recognize that there's a better way, that they don't have to learn the way that you learn, and they don't have to feel that burnout and that emotional depletion and exhaustion? What do you teach them?
I hope I try to use examples, right? Because I think at the end of the day, people remember people remember how you made them feel, right? So I try to use examples as much as I can and say, hey guys, I'm not just speaking out of what, I'm serious. I've been there and you don't want to do this, I promise. And I try to give examples. And one of the good, when I'm talking about habits and just kind of I keep looking over here because that's where my calendar is. And I'm just like, yeah, and anyway, but when I'm talking to people about just being intentional with right? You mentioned it earlier, making a promise to yourself. And it's very easy. Nobody's going to know if I don't go to the gym. Nobody's going to know, but I'm going to know, right? I'm going to know that I didn't go to the gym. I'm going to feel bad. But is that going to make me feel bad enough to never do that again? Oftentimes, no, because we'll justify it to ourselves. We'll make ourselves feel better, like it's okay. And then we'll just move on, right? But I give people the example. I was like, as I say, those of you who have kids or have a little niece, or, you like kids, right? Like you have a little kid in front of you. You would never tell that kid, let's go to Disney World tomorrow. Yeah, we're totally going to go. And then tomorrow rolls around and then you'd be like, sorry, I can't because I got to work. dude, I would never. That kid is gonna be so
Right.
sad, right? Like, you would never break a poor little kid's heart like that, right? Like, you would never. Like, and that's the best example I know how to give because I would like my kids. I would never be like, let's go do this, and then be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I gotta work. Like, and I can't say never. No, I would never do that now. I did before, and it just like makes me feel like such a horrible person to think about it. And so I try to use those examples and try to like put it in perspective to people when you don't do something that you put on your calendar and you said it was important enough for you to put on your calendar, because we this is after the calendar exercise. Put what's important to you, put your family obligations, put your lead generation, put whatever. If for some reason one day you don't do that, you've just become a person who doesn't do what you said you were going to do. You just let yourself down. You just broke a promise to yourself. You are a person who doesn't keep promises. Is that true? No, it isn't true, right? You keep promise. So why are you breaking promises to yourself? Why is it so easy for us to break promises to ourselves? And we are supposed to be it sounds some type of way when you say it, but like we are our most important person. If I am not operating at my full potential, I cannot be there for others in my full potential. And so when I don't take care of myself and go to the gym, when I'm not intentional about scheduling lunch on my calendar, right? When I'm not intentional about scheduling date night, when we're not intentional about having family fun days or whatever is important to you, right? Those are things that are important to me. But when we're not intentional about these things, we are becoming just robots, right? Who are just living to work, and it's not it. Maybe some people want to do that forever, but I can promise you at some point, maybe you last longer than others, but at some point there's no fulfillment really. There's no true like human fulfillment in that, in my opinion. My
Yeah.
opinion.
Agreed. Well, it's filling your cup first and keeping those promises to yourself. Those minute shifts change the way that you show up in rooms. Even if nobody knows, you know. And we said that, right? But it's if the more you break promises to yourself, the more that it slowly erodes at your self confidence, and the more that it erodes the trust that you have in yourself as a leader. And if you don't even trust yourself, how do you expect other people to trust and follow you? Like when you keep your promises to yourself, you're building internal credibility. So when you show up into those rooms, you're showing up with a type of energy that is magnetic, that is attractive to people. You living what I call in a high frequency. When you're in a high frequency and you resonate with those emotions, you're going to resonate with other people who operate in that same frequency as you. Leaders don't get tired. They get exhausted from the work they should have released a long time ago. So if you find yourself saying no to those things that matter most, ask yourself, what work are you still doing that you should have released? And a key exercise I do is I'll take, if I'm talking to somebody about this depletion and the exhaustion and not being able to prioritize themselves, so they just feel like they can't afford to slow down, take your salary, what you know you make, right? Even if you're a 1099, just take how much you know you make in a year, divide it up by the amount, like get to the dollar per hour to down to the dollar per minute and ask yourself, what tasks am I doing that is lower than the amount that I earn that I can offset and delegate to somebody else so I can free up my time to fully invest myself into to the things that matter most and to the bigger tasks that require my presence and my decision making. Because ultimately, like I don't clean my house anymore. Why?
I
Because
was just
I
thinking that
can't
one.
afford to clean my I literally cannot afford to clean my house. I lose money cleaning my
Yeah.
house. I'd rather pay someone $45 an hour. You can even find someone for $35 an hour and clean your house. I don't cook my own food anymore. I order factor meals and they come to my door. Because to me, I know where my time is most effective, and those smaller things that eat away are just more time taken from you and require that decision making. Like, oh, what am I going to eat for dinner?
Yeah.
Cutting those decisions out so you
The
already have them.
decisions take up so much time and mental anguish, like to figure it out and the grocery shopping and whatever. But you know what's funny? When you mentioned the house cleaning, I was thinking about it and then you said it. So it's like I gave that juju to you. But no, the kind of mindset shift that I had to have, and I'm telling you, like a year and a half, not even 2 years into my career, I was making definitely at least a couple of six figures, right, at that time, and, or I had made at that point, and do you know the mindset shift that I had to decide that I needed to hire someone to clean my house was wild. Like, I was like, "No, not me. Someone clean my house, Latina, somebody cleaning my house for me? Absolutely not. I clean my own house. I am super mom, I am super wife, I do everything," right? And I was just like, "That's only for extra rich people. Like, that's not me. I don't do" like, I told myself all of these things, and it wasn't until I was in a room of other agents who were basically like, "No, girl, you don't need to clean your house. Here's a recommendation of someone who can do it for you. And like they started just coming out with like, no, like me, I do the same thing. I had to go through it too, right? Like, so you just got in a room with other people who understand. And I'm like, oh man. But like, I was not like, I was looking for places to leverage. And they're like, well, let's think about places to leverage at home too. And as soon as I, like that first time that lady cleaned my house and I came home and it smelled so good and it was perfectly clean and she did my kids' laundry and everything. And I was like, the relief, right? Like
Yes.
that relief of like, I don't have to worry about it anymore. A lot of times it's not that we have so much to do, is that we're worrying about so many other things that we can delegate the worry. You know what I mean?
Agreed. We get so bought into our old identity.
Yeah.
This is who I am. I'm proud of what I do. This is the identity I've associated with for so
Right.
long that change is a behavioral disruptor. It's a pattern disruptor. But then you realize, oh, that was actually such a relief, you
Totally.
know? And so we've hit a couple of key points here. We talked about systems, leverage, delegation, mindset. If you could only teach one of those things, which one would you say has the biggest impact on someone's business and why?
It's mindset. And because I'll tell you, when things started changing for me in business in general, is when I started into being intentional about my mindset, when I started consuming content that was healthy for my mindset. Like I will watch maybe an hour of TV some nights or whatever, just like catch up on my series or something like that. But I don't, aside from what's scheduled on my calendar, when I go to dance, when I go to the gym, my 1 hour of TV, I don't do like a lot of like personal hobby things because I do really enjoy feeling successful at work and stuff like that. So I will like when I go to the gym, I listen to podcasts, I listen to audiobooks, I listen to mindset things, I listen to something that's stimulating my brain and giving me new perspective on something I might be having issues with right now, right? So I'm always feeling like I'm growing, like I'm training my mind. And whenever I'll give you a really great example. When I have a new mentee, because I'm a certified mentor in Florida. When I have a new mentee, I spend a solid couple of weeks with them just talking about business foundation and helping them set goals and helping them wrap their minds around the fact that they have a business and that they have to treat it as such and they have to start working on their schedule. But all of this just really boils down to how they see themselves and how they're going to see their business and getting them to just like I tell them, I can tell you right now to go do an open house and I can tell you how to do an open house, right? One of two things is going to happen. You're going to do really great and sell a bunch of houses or you're not, right? And either way, you're going to need to know about this. You're going to need to have a strong mindset. Either way, no matter what happens, right? So to me, it's more important. Like to me, longevity in this career has everything 100% to do with mindset and less to do with actual real estate skillsing, right? Everything 100% to do with mindset because when you're about to burn out or when you're having a struggle, when there's this client that you're like, oh my God, forget this person, right? Like just when things are happening to you, if you don't know how to get around that, if you don't know how to like go through that, like if you don't know how to deal with it and come out the other side a stronger person or think to yourself, well, why did that happen? And how can I prevent that from happening again? Is it a system? Is it a process? Is it a person? Is it a skill? And whatever, how but all of that, everything I'm saying just boils right down to your mindset and your desire to want to be disciplined, your desire to want to learn, your desire to want to succeed mentally. You can't do any of this without thick skin. None of this works without just that mental fortitude. Like it's all mindset, all of it.
100% boils down to mindset every single time. For an agent who would come to you today and say, everything you're saying is resonating with me. Like I want that mental fortitude and I want that mindset. But they don't know where to start. What is the first thing you would tell them? Parting advice. Last question. What advice would you give them to start?
Well, first of all, talk to me, right? Talk to me. I'll get you through it, right? But everything, if they had to, if I wasn't here and they had to do it on their own, I would say take an inventory of your day, like go through your day and write down for a week or two every single thing that you do. And compare that to a calendar if you even have one and start figuring out what is a me thing. Like with that exercise you just said, figure out the dollars per hour thing and decide what is something that I can do only. What is something that someone else can do for me and start really working on time management. A lot of people's problems boil down, like I hear I don't have time. And no, it's like you do have time. You do have time. And that's when people burn out, it's because they're not managing their time correctly. They're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. There's something, there's a cog in that wheel. Something's happening. Like something's happening that needs to be tweaked. And it might be little, it might be big. We don't know, but something in there is wrong. And I always evaluate the calendar first.
Holding yourself accountable, being honest and being real with yourself is the first place to start. And then you had mentioned this before, content intake. What are you intaking? Because that has a direct impact on what you believe and how you show up and your subconscious beliefs. Are you intaking content that is beneficial to you, or are you doom scrolling? And then surrounding yourself with bigger thinkers, surrounding yourself with people that inspire you, that motivate you, that challenge you to think better, to be better, and going all in, knowing that like you come first, right? Not being so married to the hustle culture and the highlighted reel, because what we see online is people's best moments.
Yes.
We're seeing the best, most curated moments. You're not seeing that the struggle, like you had talked about. You struggled for years. But if someone who didn't know you would say, she is winning in every category. All right. So someone who wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is on Instagram. I'm always on that thing. I'm always sharing stuff and chatting with everyone. So my Instagram is realtor trainer coach. Super easy to remember. So find me on there. I have my stand store up in my bio. Like literally, that's the place. That is the place to go to find me. I always respond to my messages. I'm always looking at my tags and stuff. So yeah, anybody wants to get a hold of me there, anything that if somebody's listening to this and they're like, Michelle, oh my God, I feel that, like, please help. Just DM me. I got you. Like, we'll figure it out.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, thank you again so much for coming on today,
Thank you.
dropping your wisdom and value. Guys, if you haven't connected with Michelle, please do so. She is an incredible coach, just such a passion and a heart in our community. And we just appreciate everything that you do and your leadership. And thanks for coming on. It's a great conversation.
Yes, it was amazing. Thank you, Cameron. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love what you're doing here. And I wish you just all the good juju in this venture. And yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.